Hi guys, this is Johnny Rodriguez. This is my new little segment, which I would like to call it Johnny's Corner. This is a segment where hopefully I'll be able to post it from time to time on YouTube, and it's basically about my little segment where I can talk about current events, I can talk about the things I like, the things I dislike. It could be about fun things in general, or weird things, or whatever comes up to my mind. So this is Johnny's Corner, and this is my very first episode, which I will be talking about Madonna with her new album, MDNA. Does this album live it up compared to her previous albums, or to any musical album that's released nowadays? Well, let's check it out. Before she released her album earlier this year, she did a huge halftime show performance on the Super Bowl, on this year's Super Bowl. So it was pretty hyped up, and I personally think she could have done a lot better in that halftime show. But either way, it still entertained a lot of people. It had high ratings, and of course Nicki Minaj is there. MIA is there, which they also did their controversial thing in the halftime performance. So that kind of hyped up Madonna a little bit. It kind of made people talk about her again, even for those of you who don't even know who she is. For those of you that don't know who Madonna is, she basically is kind of like what I would have to call it the pre-Gaga of her times, from the 80s and 90s. She basically was the original female artist that was very straightforward, very I would have to say like girl power-ish kind of thing, even way before Spice Girls came up with that concept, even way before Christina Aguilera and Little Kim, all those female artists that always have like that girls can do it all kind of attitude thing. Madonna basically was one of the first artists that have done that. And of course, Madonna is very provocative, and she's very straightforward, and she's very sexual, and she's just not afraid to speak her mind. So she basically was one of the first artists, female artists of the time, that was really ahead of her time, I would say, with all the crazy shit she did back in the days. So basically, Madonna is kind of like the Lady Gaga, but of the 80s and the 90s. Now that I have explained basically who Madonna is, let me allow to tell you about this new album. Basically, MDNA is like her latest album, and it contains a lot of dance beats. It contains a lot of musical singles that have a bit of that old school flair in it. It has a little bit of the 80s type, you know, music, and 90s type music, but it's also combined with all the crazy shit people do nowadays in music videos and with their songs in general. So I would like to say that the album is kind of like a mixed blend. Personally, I kind of like the album. It's pretty good on its own. However, considering that it is Madonna, I don't think the album doesn't really live it up to her branding. I mean, compare this to Confessions to the Dance Floor, I believe, which was her other album she released. I think this one doesn't really live it up all the way. And the reason why is because while she's busy trying to make these dance beats very danceable and very relatable, I guess, for today's youth, and I think she kind of does that well. I personally think that the album lacks that type of originality that Madonna is known for, which she always seems to reinvent herself. And this album, it looks like she rewind herself a few decades back. I mean, she's back to her 90s era, basically, back to her 90s era, I'm sorry, and she's basically redoing the whole erotica thing all over again. This new video, Girl Gone Wild, even though a lot of people compare it to Lady Gaga, some Alejandro video, and blah blah blah. Basically, this video, for anybody that know Madonna and have watched her older videos, you can immediately compare this video to all her other old black and white erotic type videos she have released back in the day. So this new video, even though the song is kind of catchy, it lacks originality, and personally, her album overall lacks originality in general. It just sounds like a blend from all the new stuff you hear nowadays in music, and mixed up with all the stuff she had done previously from the 80s and 90s. So yeah, it's really not quite there. And another thing I would have to complain about this album is that I think that she also lacks like a message. You know how in her older albums she would always bring out a message or two, and she would always sometimes talk about social events and stuff like that. In this album, it just sounds like she went to the teeny bopper route, considering that she's 50-something. I don't know how old she is, and I'm not checking her out. She does look pretty good for her age, but still, it's still kind of like disturbing thinking that a 50-year-old woman could dress up that way and act that way and sing that way, and basically her songs, it just doesn't really sound like that profound. Like compared to her older albums, her album really lacks, I don't know, the more, I guess, serious side of Madonna, the Madonna that always send you a type of a message, a positive message in her songs. I think this one kind of lacks that. This one's mostly like pretty teeny bopper, I would say. It's basically like, oh, how I love you, and how basically it's just like a teenage girl singing about how she likes guys and all that stuff. So I don't know. Personally, I do like the album, but I think she did lack the type of creativity she had in her older albums, and I think that this is the reason why she might even reconsider not making another album, because if this album doesn't go all the way, which several critics have said that it has, according to the Billboards, I think the album has dropped a few places. I think she might have to reconsider and maybe either not make another album, or she might have to make one, but it's a little bit more suitable for her, I guess, older fans, for the fans that grew up with her, for people that were born in her time era, and for people her age, I would have to say, because I don't think any, especially a lot of women that listen to her music, and gay fans respectively, and the few straight guys that listen to her music, I don't think anybody in her age can really relate to the type of music she's singing, especially when she's dressed up like a cheerleader in one of her new video, All You're Loving. So basically, that's a wrap. This is Johnny Rodriguez. I hope you enjoyed the show, and of course, you can post all the comments down there on YouTube and check it out.